Hello everyone, welcome back to Daytona. We are live for the final few hours of this race. Many teams have fallen due to issues in the night, difficulties, and other sorts of troubles. But those who have survived this long are in it with a shot to win one of those Rolex watches they are all looking for. A few DPIs were some of the sufferers of the night, most notably we can scroll down the list. Jimmy Johnson, the number 48 Cadillac DPI, they're in trouble, as well as Marcus Erickson in the number 02 Cadillac DPI. Both are each 23 and 28 laps off the leader, and the 01 Chip Ganassi Cadillac is 42 laps off the leader. So those two have unfortunately been taken out of contention. However, others, the number 5 Cadillac DPI Mustang Sampling, number 31 Pippo Durrani, Wheeling Engineering, number 10 Felipe Albuquerque, Wayne Taylor Racing, and Tom Blomqvist, number 60 Acura Meyershank Racing. They are all in this, and all in with a good shot at winning this thing. So just 3 hours and just under 3 hours and 11 minutes remaining. Still a long time to go, but now is really the time when the teams are going to be starting to think about, you know, the end of the race ahead. They can actually plan out the final few hours and expect that to go as planned. And that's one of the very important parts of this race, is that transition where it really does eventually become a sprint, and that's gonna be probably one of the most exciting parts of this race, just due to how frantic it gets at the end. We've already seen so many cautions, so many safety periods, many different struggles and challenges throughout the event that we've seen taking place. But you know, now it's the final run to the finish. They're planning out their pit stops, their fuel, their tires, who's going to be in the car. It all comes down to that. Currently, we're seeing that the two Acuras, 3rd and 4th place of Felipe Albuquerque and Tom Blomqvist of Wayne Taylor Racing and Meyershank Racing, they are both right here together in a battle for 3rd. Pippo Durrani is another 7 seconds up the road, and 8 seconds up from him is Louis Duval in that number 5 Cadillac. But most certainly, this run to the finish is really going to be determined by strategy. The traffic is a little more spread out now, though certainly it is tight out there. There's still, you know, many cars left running in this race. If I go down to see if I can check out who's retired, we still have, it's hard to tell who's retired and who isn't, but we still have, you know, at least like 50 cars or so running left in the race. Unfortunately, scrolling down the list, I see we unfortunately lost way back down at least, is the number 97 Mercedes. They were doing incredibly well earlier on, and unfortunately they have fallen victim. I see, of course, the number 79 WeatherTech Porsche is a ways behind. But we'll take a look at GTD Pro now. Leader of that class is Matt Campbell in the number 9 Pfaff Racing Porsche, who I predicted would win the race in GTD. So we'll see how that goes for them. They've had strong pace all throughout the Roar and all throughout the weekend. So certainly that's a good pick, but there's also the number 2 KCMG Porsche of Devin Olsen and the number 62 Ferrari 488 GT3 of James Collado, and that's the Risi Competizione team. They're all in with a very good shot, all within about 90 seconds of each other, which of course, you know, if there's a yellow, which is very likely at this stage of the race, we will see them all bunch up. The first car a lap down there is Dirk Mueller in the number 15 Lexus. So the prototypes on the high banks here at Daytona. Konica Minolta, black and blue, lapping one of the LMP2s, followed behind by the Meyer-Shank Racing as they go through the newly named Le Mans chicane, apparently, which it's, well, let's be honest, it's still the bus stop. We're looking inside the helmet of Felipe Albuquerque. His visor is up. We can see his eyes, the concentration on his face. Constantly checking the mirror to make sure that Meyer-Shank Cadillac isn't getting too close, in which it is not. Meyer-Shank Acura. Then forward to look at the traffic. The lap is 3.56 miles, but compared to some other endurance races, it feels like you're right back where you started again so very quickly due to those long straightaways along the banking. Once again, looking into that helmet as he goes through to the second horseshoe. What's he going to be thinking? He's just looking for the apex, looking up, checking out the traffic. Pato O'Ward would be in the LMP2 directly in front of him. He wants to get by fairly quickly. The number 9 Pfaff Porsche, the leader in GTD Pro, is into the pits. Looks like just tires and fuel. So that means Matt Campbell will be staying aboard that Porsche. Still fueling up now. There they go. Tires spin and Matt Campbell will be on his way. Trying to get some heat in the tires. Meyer-Shank Racing Acura still chasing down that number 10 Wayne Taylor Racing. But out front it is the Cadillacs. They continue to lead. But at this rate, their pace is so even, I would give either group a fairly good shot at taking this thing. You can see very, very clear skies around Daytona. The temperature's only warmed up to about 45 degrees, so warm is a bit of a exaggeration, but it is much warmer than it was in the cold night when it got into the 30s. So then we can look at some of the front runners there in all the classes. Loic Duval now leads in his Cadillac DPI, which will change up here. It all ebbs and flows during pit stops. As we go to LMP2, the lead in that class has not changed, nor has it in LMP3. Of course, due to pit stops, the number 2 KCMG Porsche is back in front, so that hasn't changed. And then the number 16 Wright Motorsports Zach Robichon. So those class leaders are the class leaders currently with just over 3 hours remaining. If you've made it this far up front, you've got a very good chance of winning the thing. Of course, Pippo Durrani and the number 31 Cadillac DPI would love to be a little bit closer, an 8-second gap to Loic Duval. But still, any restart or caution period could bring that back in an instant. Felipe Albuquerque in the number 10 Wayne Taylor Racing Acura DPI is third. Tom Blanc was fourth. Then you get into the LMP2s of Pato O'Ward in the number 81. That's for Dragon Speed. They've brought themselves up and they've had a good race, and they do have a lap on the field right now, and that may be due to pit stop cycles, but they do have a lap on the field. To the next car, the number 8 Tower Motorsports of Ferdinand Hansberg. Then you're going to find Nicolas Lapierre and the number, I believe that's, yeah, the number 52 Orica LMP2. That's for PR1 Matheson Motorsports. Renus VK is the number 29 Orica Racing Team Netherlands. And then it's Ed Jones, actually, in the number 68 G-Drive Orica LMP2. That is your top 5 there, although Ed Jones is 7 laps down. 2 laps down is Renus VK, but actually first through third are now being registered as on the lead lap. Here you'll find the first of the LMP3s, Felipe Fraga, which is being shown on our screen right now, has a 46-second gap to cars behind him. Nick Johnson being one of them in second place, the number 54 Core Autosport Ligier. Joao Barbosa in the Sean Creech Motorsport number 33 Ligier is also directly behind, with Matthew Bell in the number 13 AWA Duquesne in fourth. They're 3 laps down. And Rasmus Lind in the number 36 Andretti Autosport Duquesne, or Ligier, pardon. They are 4 laps back, so they are not exactly in contention, nor is the AWA car at 3 laps back. But certainly the top 3 in LMP3 are all in with a shot at a win now. In GTD Pro, of course, the number 2 KCMG Porsche continues to lead by a small margin of 5 seconds over the number 9 Pfaff Porsche, but their pit stop cycles are different, so it'll really come down to which one they end up on at the end of the race. Matt Campbell in that number 9 Porsche is second. James Collado in the number 62 Risi Competizione Ferrari is third. Ben Barnico in the number 14 Lexus is fourth. Dirk Mueller in the number 15 Mercedes is 1 lap down. So for Proton competition, they still have one WeatherTech Racing sponsored car in the hunt. They are just 1 lap back, all in with a shot of this thing. Zachary Robichon still leads in the number 16 Pfaff Porsche, and I do believe I noticed a cut tire or some bodywork damage. It is not a cut tire, but it is some bodywork damage on that second place LMP3 for Core Autosport of Nick Johnson in that car currently. But they seem to be going on fine, so it obviously is not a terminal issue. Now to GTD, as I was saying, Zach Robichon was first in the number 16. Then it is Nicholas Nielsen in the number 21 AF Corsa Ferrari. After all this time, they have managed to get themselves into a fairly high place. Spencer Pumpelly in the number 44 Magnus Racing Aston Martin. It is really, really good to see Magnus Racing up in front and competing for a win at Daytona. They're only a lap back off the class lead now. Stephen McAleer is in the number 32 Gradient Racing AMG. They're only 2 laps back. And Frederick Schendorf is in the number 70 Inception Racing McLaren. They're in 5th. They will be happy with that if they can carry that to the finish. A good race from them. As we turn our attention back to the race with just under 3 hours to go, we see that the Meyershank Racing Acura continues to close in on Wayne Taylor Racing around the turn 3 and 4 banking, coming up on some GTD traffic now. So by no means is this battle going to get any less exciting. A little bit of a settling down, longer stint here that we've been managing to have ever since I woke up and checked in on the race. Just continuing to just make the car last to the end. All these guys in the top have had really good drives so far. Their cars are in quite stable condition. Their windshields, however, are not the cleanest. Now we look at the Magnus Racing Aston Martin. It's really good to see, of course, they went with the Acura last year and just didn't have the results they would have wanted. And the year before, they were, I believe, still with the Lamborghini in 2020. And there is a little bit of bodywork flapping on the back of that Aston Martin. I don't think it's making too much of a difference, though, just a little bit of contact somewhere down the line. And that is the car driven by John Potter, Andy Lally, Spencer Pompelli, all 3 Americans with a ton of experience with Magnus, and then Jonathan Adam from Great Britain, also with them as a 4th driver. And the car looks a little bit torn up. They've had some contact and things in the night, but still fairly pristine for an endurance race, that is. As I can see, there is a bit of a little bit of color adjustment that's happened on the front as some bodywork has been ripped apart. There's the back window, actually, I'm just noticing, is completely gone. They have no rear suspension cover. That's been taken off completely. So that car has been battered and bruised, but they are still in 3rd place. And if anything happens to the 2 leaders up front, don't count Magnus Racing out. A little bit of a gap has formed between Felipe Albuquerque and Tom Blomqvist now. Their pristine liveries a little bit covered by dirt and dust from the just over 21 hours of racing we've had. Still those little metallic points of gray and silver on the side shine for the Wayne Taylor Racing. Of course, these chassis have been put through a lot for the race. Had the roar last week in the qualifying race, and apparently Jeff Burton got to sit inside one of the Acuras. Now that would be an experience I wouldn't mind having. That steering wheel is really awesome. So that's a very unique and cool experience to get to sit behind one of those, and it's fortunate that we have sim racing now to thank for being able to actually go in. I can go sit in one of the Acuras or Cadillacs or LMP2s or GT cars. I can go sit and experience what it'd be like to drive them. That's why we have some of this nice audio background to make it really sound like we're doing racing commentary. So yeah, very fortunate to have that. What's unfortunate is I won't be able to actually do any of that once the race is over because, of course, there's homework to be done. Loic Duval in the number 5 Cadillac, well, he's done his homework. They're currently leading this race by 8 seconds now over Pipo Derani in the number 31 Cadillac. They're all going to be trying to settle down into their stints and getting comfortable and trying to just push the car a little bit more every stint until the end of the race. Some will be hoping for a yellow. Others, like Loic Duval in the number 5 Cadillac, will be hoping it stays green until the end. I guess this isn't really footage from rFactor 2. I'll just say audio because we've had to make some adjustments. And there you can see that the, of course, the rear view camera in these cars is not actually a rear view mirror. It is simply a camera that they have in the back, so you can see, you know, anyone who's coming behind you. So that is a 3-second gap that has opened up between the Acura, the number 10, Felipe Albuquerque, and number 60 of Tom Blomqvist. About 3 seconds. And the fact that, you know, we call that a decent gap has opened up after over 21 hours of racing. That is that goes to show you how closely matched and how tight the Daytona Prototype International battle is. And of course, their final season before the LMDH regulations come in, and well, of course, it'll be GTP is what it'll be called to commemorate the GT Prototype Grand Touring Prototype Days of IMSA, and that is just, it's going to be such an exciting time in the endurance racing world. Like, what an awesome new era that we're going to be going into. You know, this racing is incredible, but when we get these, you know, amazing privateers, of course, they have, you know, factory support some. But, you know, you have Wayne Taylor Racing and, you know, Action Express and Meyer Shank Racing and all these guys. JDC Miller Motorsports is more of a privateer, certainly, but you're going to get all them, you know, who have all this experience with these races, and you're going to be able to get, you know, the hypercars from Le Mans Hypercar, and then all the new LMDHs, Porsche, Peugeot from Le Mans Hypercar, Toyota, and all of them are going to be able to compete in this top class, and we're just going to have some incredible racing for the next years upcoming in the 24 Hours of Daytona. And in other races like Sebring and Petit Le Mans, those are going to be, you know, bucket list races that these teams from Europe are going to want to come and race. And here in America, we'll still probably get bigger fields, as maybe those like Glickenhaus, if they prefer to compete, you know, they're local. I'm sure that they'll, you know, want to run the full season as well. So, and over in Europe, of course, we'll be able, Acura and Cadillac will be able to send cars to Le Mans and the World Endurance Championship. So it's just a really fortunate time to be heading into after this year's finished. And we've still got an amazing year of racing this year. The GTD and GTD Pro battles have just been, you know, so good to watch. And, you know, with bigger fields in GTD Pro, there's just so much potential in there. Of course, we won't have 13 cars for the entire season, but we're still likely to have, you know, a really good battle through there with Corvette and then BMW. Both BMW bringing 2 cars. Corvette, of course, will only be running 1 for the full season. But you know, several Porsches and Mercedes, and it's really a great battle between some major manufacturers. So there was a lot to look forward to for this year, but I think we can all agree that we're all eyeing 2023 as the start of a great new era. And next year's race at Daytona will really be the start of that great new era, as we finally see the convergence of the WEC and IMSA regulations. Well, Pipo Derani and Loic Duval have both brought themselves into the pit lane and are now heading out. Loic Duval is already a ways out, but we're seeing the Whelen Engineering Cadillac doing the same now. And actually, Mustang Sampling is just coming in now. As we can see, my timing and scoring is a little bit ahead. But that is the number 5 Mustang Sampling into the pit lane. Little windshield wipe. That gray and gold still looks good. And out of the pit lane they go. Sun still shining on that metallic silver and gold Mustang Sampling liveried GDC Miller Motorsports Cadillac. Should still retain the lead once the others come into the pits. Of course, this is the car that Ben Keating spent some of his racing time in, along with the PR1 Matheson car. Doing double duty the first time he's been in the DPI, and I'm sure he'll have a story to tell for all of us about the fact that he was leading in DPI at a restart at one point in time in the middle of the night. That's a very, very cool story for them, for old Ben Keating. Of course, we look at the AF Corsa, the number 21, and last time that they were up in the front in GTD, they got spun into the wall by the Windward Racing Mercedes. So we'll see if they have any better luck this time. Well, the Acura is still chasing each other. This time, Felipe Albuquerque is in the lead, with Tom Blomqvist following behind. However, that will change as they will eventually duck to the pit lane. We can now take a look at the 01 Chip Ganassi Cadillac. Of course, they're a long ways down due to some troubles that they've had during the race. And my live stream has decided to have some troubles and not want to load here. But yeah, just talking about that 01 Chip Ganassi, they looked like they were, doing so well earlier on. They had some troubles in the night. I haven't exactly seen what the difficulties were, but they're just trying to get, finish the running. Of course, this is going to be a car that's going to fight for the championship this year. And the 02 as well. I believe the 02 is going to run the full season. So this is a team that, they just want to finish this race strong and as high as they can. Even if that's only 5th or 6th, and just grab a few points, move on to Sebring, and just about a month and a half's time, and most certainly they will be one to watch this season. The grandstands filling up a little bit more. They were completely empty overnight, obviously. Had some spectators in the start. But of course, the place you want to be is down on the infield to watch this thing unfold. Of course, the Daytona 500, it'll only be in just a few weeks' time here, where those stands will be filled. Number 10, Konik Minolta is into the pits. They will give up the lead. Tires and fuel going on to that car. Felipe Albuquerque stays behind the wheel. I would imagine he'll stay behind the wheel for a little while longer, and then Ricky Taylor will take over to the finish. These two were the lead guns on this team. They run the full season, and it would be most likely that they finish out this motor race. Of course, the others on that team, you have Alexander Rossi and Will Stevens. The drivers that have come in for this race. Will Stevens, the fourth driver, we won't see him again. But we will see Alexander Rossi at Sebring. And number 5 Cadillac, fully up to speed, should be the leader of the race now. Correction, I guess the number 60 Meyershank Racing Acura has not come down to the pits. So now there they are. Meyershank Racing number 60 is in the pits. As you can see, these DPIs are on different pit stop cycles, and that's definitely going to play a role in this race. And the number 60 sits there, fuel going in, and they are back out is Tom Blomqvist. Number 5 on turn 3 of the banking. Is the number 5 going to be behind the number 60? I think the number 5 should regain the lead. He's going through the tri-oval now. Where will the number 60 be? Not to be seen on pit exit. I think the 5 should regain the lead here, and indeed he has retaken the lead. Tom Blomqvist will be out of the pits momentarily. Oh, a little bit of 3 wide out of the International Horseshoe. There we go. Tom Blomqvist out of the pits on cold tires. He'll try and get some heat into those. We see a pass for position. Is this an LMP3? No, it's actually the Andretti Autosport LMP3 trying to make a dive on, I think, the number 54 Core Autosport, and just ended up in the grass there. Not exactly what you want to be seeing, but let's see what position they are. That is Rasmus Lind still in that number 36, and they're still going strong in 5th place, 5 laps down, but they're just continuing to survive the race and just, you know, try and finish up the race. I believe they're in the full season LMP3 championship. However, this is not a championship round for them. So it will not make a difference. I believe that the number 10 Acura and that either maybe the number 60 Acura, or that could perhaps be the number 31 Whelen Engineering. I believe it is the 60 Acura. It could be the 31 though. As we zoom in for a closer look, it's still hard to tell at this instant, but I think it's the Whelen Engineering Cadillac that is closing up on Felipe Albuquerque in the number 60, and not that far behind, in the number 10, and not that far behind is the number 60 Meyershank Racing Acura. take a look at the GTD leader now, the number 16 Wright Motorsports Porsche, currently driven by Zachary Robichon still. He's on his stint. 26th overall, of course some attrition, dropping some cars back. Just over 2.5 hours to go. We're into a long green flag pattern, which we haven't had in a while for me being up and watching this race, so this is really nice to see. And the number 79 WeatherTech Porsche has beached itself in the grass at one of the horseshoes. I think it's the second horseshoe. Currently in that car is, they're a little down the order, so we're just having to, Matteo Cairoli. He's going to get the car rolling once again, and he's back on track. A little quick spin. That number 79 has been in the wars as well. They're 40 laps off the leader in class, but they're still going. They're trying to, get as many points as they can, because they'll be in the full season as well. I'll see them in VIR in August. I look forward to that. See, Core Autosport number 54 has pitted. Are they on the lead lap? It says they are 2 laps off the 74, Riley Motorsports, who has had a very, very good race here at Daytona. They've just led so much of it. Core Autosport has done well as well, but I think they've gotten into a couple of situations throughout the race that have made them lose a couple of laps. But still, good to see Core Autosport doing well in their LMP3. As we look at Matteo Cairoli inside his Porsche 911 GT3 cockpit, we'll see how he took this quick spin. He didn't necessarily take a spin, he just went straight on at the second hairpin and got on the brakes. It looks like the car was playing up as he went through the kink, and he went for the brakes and there just wasn't any, and he was just able to get it stopped before he hit the tire barrier. So that was a lucky save actually there for the number 79 WeatherTech Porsche, but they're still running the race. It appears that whatever problem he has has been solved. Able to get down to second gear, we can see, for the second horseshoe. Car looks quite understeery. That really does look like a struggle for Matteo Cairoli, but they're still going. They're still in the race, and like I said, they're running the full season, so points are going to be important for them. So in GTD Pro, which we were just talking about, the number 2 KCMG Porsche is the leader in that class, with the number 9 FAF Porsche just behind. And we look at some of the troubles that the number 12 Lexus GTD had earlier when the number 47 spun on its own. The number 12, nowhere to go, major suspension damage. And of course, Townsend Bell was a member of the broadcast crew that we have been watching, and I believe this is probably an update about him. But if we take a look and search for the number 12, they did get back out on the track, and they are currently 15th in class, just trying to rack up the points that they can. And of course, you can see Townsend Bell is behind the wheel of that car. He's been a member of the broadcast, and now he's racing in that Lexus, one of his side hustles apparently. Good to see him out there running. That car is still going. They'll just be wanting to get as many points as they can to carry in to the end of the season. Well, just the beginning of the season, but they'll certainly want as many as they can when Petit Le Mans comes around at the end of the year. You can see another driver there getting ready to head behind the wheel. Frankie Montecalvo. You can read on his helmet there, it's red and white and black swirls, almost kind of like a Carolina Hurricanes-esque helmet. They'll just be trying to get that car through to the end of the race, get a few points, and move on to Sebring. Just finished the race. Of course, they all want to win, but there's some things that you can't control, and certainly that Lexus RCF GT3, the number 12 for Vassar Sullivan, has been through the wars, and they'll just be glad to be out of Daytona and home safely. Of course, leader of that GTD class is Zachary Robichon, and Christina Nielsen, I believe, is that who is in that car right now. I know it's a Nielsen, and they're in a Ferrari. It's actually Nicholas Nielsen. So, wrong Nielsen. He's still in the car. They are the only two on the lead lap in GTD. However, Spencer Pumpelly is right behind in that number 44 Aston Martin, the beat-up Aston Martin, just one lap back. So number 5, Richard Westbrook is in the car now. In that JDC Miller Motorsports Cadillac. They had a difficult year last year. They couldn't get anything running or going well. Of course, they are a privateer entry. They're kind of the smallest team, JDC Miller Motorsports. They don't have all the resources that the other teams have, but they're up there and they're running in the lead. They've been doing very, very well, running strong in this race, always up front and in the lead from time to time. And they're in a very good position right now if the pit stop cycles hit their way. But of course, they always could change, and they do change. As we see, this is a battle for the GTD Pro lead between the two Porsches, the KCMG of Devin Olsen up ahead and Matt Campbell just behind. And these two have been inseparable throughout the whole race, and even now, they certainly aren't very similar performance out of the two identical Porsches. Matt Campbell will continue to chase down Devin Olsen on the banking out of turn 6 through NASCAR turn 2 and onto the back straightaway. More speed, more speed, more speed. And down into the braking zone. It's still, the 9 is still catching the 2. There's no opportunity for a pass yet, but any bit of traffic could change that. Just under 2.5 hours remain in this 60th running of the 24 Hours of Daytona. Through the tri-oval now. Campbell will just be trying to maintain the draft, and of course it's also a Porsche, that number 16 Wright Motorsports, driven by Zachary Robichon. Of course, he drove with the number 9 FAF Porsche when it was all just one GTD. Before GTD Pro was formed in replacement of GT Le Mans. And yes, Zachary Robichon leads with that number 16 Wright Motorsports Porsche. They won the Endurance Cup, I believe, last year. And so it is a Porsche leading in GTD Pro and GTD. I'm sure that Porsche would be very happy if it finished up that way. We'll also be hoping that these two of Olsen and Campbell do not take each other out. For now, there's still a fairly steady, even pace between them. Now we have a battle between the number 10 of Felipe Albuquerque and DPI, and the 31 Whelen Engineering Cadillac onto the banking out of turn 6. The Whelen's going to get, oh, they almost made contact there as the 31 just barely cuts off the 10 to get around some lap traffic. And now the 10 is in the draft of the 31. He's going to pull up alongside. Do they really want to be racing hard this close to the finish? I think they do. As Felipe Albuquerque side by side, he's going to really force the 31 to the yellow line and tell him, really communicate to him, no, you're not passing back here. And that's the 10 defending his position, but the 31 is once again going to get in that draft. He's not going to be close enough down into turn 1, surely, as they go back out of the bus stop onto turn 3 and 4. But the 31 is going to be looking for any opportunity once again, and the 9 is also starting to close up a lot on the number 2 KCMG Porsche. They're back in GTD Pro. We have two great battles going on. Of course, the battle in DPI there is for second place as Richard Westbrook continues to lead in the number 5. But the number 2 and the number 9 continue to be inseparable. And the 9 is right on the 2 now. Of course, the 2 gets the better exit out of the second horseshoe. Looking back towards the wide open grandstands and then left over the bumpy 6 that leads on to the banking once more. Porsche versus Porsche up through the gears. And just behind them, coming onto the banking now once again, is the Whelen Engineering and Wayne Taylor Racing. Some more traffic. That's the Magnus Aston Martin. Gets out of the way, but the Whelen Engineering will be taking the draft. I don't think he'll have the opportunity to do anything into the bus stop. That's simply too much of a gap. But he will be looking for opportunities down into turn 1, as these two have a great little battle. And of course, these were the two that fought tooth and nail to the end of the championship down at Road Atlanta last year. That has to be one of the greatest races I've ever watched, as there was very nearly contact on the banking just a lap ago when they had to get around some GT traffic when the Whelen Engineering car was by. Of course, Albuquerque really shut the door on the 31 to make sure, really drive him down to the end of the yellow line to make sure that he was not going to pass through again. They're taking a little bit more curb now, being a little bit harder on those cars. Of course, the curbs have been worn down throughout the race. And this is the 31 once again attempting to get by to no avail. I believe this is live. No, this is a replay of the 31 getting by the 10, but the 10 is back in front still. I would like to see what is going on there now as we continue to see the replay of the same thing over and over again. Thank you. And once again, it is traffic that has brought them right together. The 31 hot on the tail of the 10, but there's some GT traffic that they're going to have to contend with. Some Porsches there, and the 10 going through NASCAR 2 with the 31 right behind, and I believe that's Tom Blomqvist in the 60 right behind them as well. He's closing up on this battle as they continue to fight. We may have a three-way battle for second here very shortly, and all the while, Richard Westbrook will be rubbing his hands together in the cockpit in excitement, because the more they battle, the more he can get away. It appears the 31 hasn't been able to gain much ground on the 10 over the last lap or two. Could be due to just the flow of traffic. And the 60 is really closing up on this battle now. So we will most certainly have ourselves a three-way battle for second coming up here. We'll update the leaderboards in just a moment, my class leaders, although I don't think many of them have changed, actually. In fact, I don't think any of them have changed. But this battle is it's really, I can't take my eyes off of it. Yeah, none of the leaders have changed, so we'll just update this to 2 hours and 30. And actually, as I say that, the Wright Motorsports Porsche does come in to the pits, but they will resume their lead. This is just a regular pit stop for them. Just scheduled, just getting to the finish. We'll see if Robichon hands off the car to someone else for the end, or if he's going to go for another stint or so. It appears there is a yellow and black helmeted Porsche driver hopping behind the wheel. Who perhaps might that be? We'll find out in just a moment. In the meantime, these three in DPI still following each other through. Each of them, I'd say, probably have about 5 car lengths between them. This could perhaps be the very well versed and experienced Jan Halen hopping behind the wheel of that number 16. And this, some traffic has really brought the 31 and the 60 together here for third place, and Felipe Albuquerque has managed to get a little bit of a small gap, about a lap car in between these two as they battle. Albuquerque, or Conway ahead of Blomqvist. Blomqvist really closes up on his tail around some LMP3 traffic into the second horseshoe, and out of it they fire. We'll see if Blomqvist is maybe able to try something into the bus stop or the Le Mans chicane. I think he's going to be a little bit too far back as they just can't quite seem to take the draft, but it does look like the 60 closes up just a little bit as they go down the straightaway. We'll see if in a couple laps time that plays dividends for them. Yeah, this battle is still very, very close between these two. It's going to go right down to the end. But the meanwhile, Richard Westbrook has opened up an 18-second gap, but here comes Tom Blomqvist. He is going to go to the right of the Cadillac. The Cadillac is going to squeeze him a little bit to the wall. Around the outside goes Tom Blomqvist into turn 1. Is he going to make it stick? No, the Whelen gets back on the inside. They're still side by side going through the S's, and the Whelen Engineering just barely gets out ahead of the 60 of Tom Blomqvist. That was very nearly a pass for the Meyershank Racing Acura on the Cadillac DPI. Excuse me. Through the kink, that 60 seems to really close up in the braking zones. Some more GT traffic is going to put them on the outside there. Really, really good battle here. All right, well, we have to step away for just a moment, but we will be right back with more of this racing action. It's hard to step away from, but we won't be gone for long. Be right back. So after a quick reprieve, do not be afraid, I return, and we are still checking out this fierce battle in DPI. Of course, there have been some pit stops made. That number 5 Cadillac DPI has been into the pits. And of course is falling back, as well as the number 10 Konica Minolta as well. They have visited the pit lane. So we're just seeing the DPI pit stops cycle through now. It seems like all the teams are, I was listening to some of the coverage, they've all got their end game drivers in and preparing. We're not in the car, but they know who's going to be taking it to the end. So it's really all setting up for a good battle here. And oh no, that is the number 11 LMP2 of PR1 Matheson Motorsports. They, let's see if we can find them here on the list. Unfortunately, they're already running way down in 8th place, 20 laps back from their class leader. So, not ideal for them. They're already a ways back, but still unfortunate to see them going back behind the wall. Number 10. Through the kink now. Just trying to make up time while others are out on track or on pit stop cycles. Just 2 hours and 8 minutes remaining on that Rolex clock. They all want to be in the lead at the final moments of that clock ticking down to 1:41 p.m. or so was the start time. They want to be in that number 1 position, which Felipe Albuquerque in the number 10 currently holds at the end of the race. One notable driver on board the number 81 LMP2 of Dragon Speed, that is Colton Herta, now on board that car. So good to see Colton Herta, the, of course, IndyCar star, getting some more laps in that LMP2, and of course they are leading the way. So Dragon Speed, that yellow, bright yellow and orange Kimoa sponsored car, we'll see if they get to this thing and win in LMP2. Believe we're still supposed to see Felipe Albuquerque come down the pit lane. As we can see, the crew is ready to receive him, I would suppose, on this lap. And there was a driver on the wall there. So is Ricky Taylor going to go ahead and hop behind the wheel for the final just over 2 hours? That is a fairly long stint in this number 10 Wayne Taylor Racing Acura. It's possible. So still, most of an IMSA sprint race remains. But it really does feel like things are starting to get more frantic and that we are closing down to the end now. As the 10 does come into the pits, will we see a driver change? Yes, we will. That should be Ricky Taylor getting into the car, Felipe Albuquerque hopping out, tires going on and fuel going in. could just make the tire noises. That was terrible, but you get the idea. Cleaning, a little bit of cleaning the grill. Making sure those radiator ducts are not getting covered up too much. And away they go. Once again, I believe Ricky Taylor is now behind the wheel of that number 10 Konica Minolta Acura. The blue and black and silver metallic still looks quite shiny on that number 10 Acura DPI. Of course, they got a couple laps down earlier on due to like a spin and a flat tire down into turn 1. Of course, due to some caution periods, they were capable of getting back up to the lead pack. And I believe, so I'm just looking, I'm sorry, this person, Josh Pearson, who is in the number 11, who's the driver, is younger than me. He's 15. So that's a record for me. Wow. I've never seen a driver younger than me in IMSA. So that's a first. Can you imagine racing in the 24 hours of Daytona as a 15-year-old? God, that is incredible. That's crazy. What's not as crazy and a little more routine, the 60 coming in to the pits. Regular pit stop, camera guy has to run out of the way. That was some interesting acrobatics there. And once again, it is Jaminet and Vantor now, the two drivers in the two GTD Pro Porsches that cannot be separated, except this time it's the number 9 Pfaff Porsche that is leading. Of course, we'll have to adjust that on our timing screen, which we will do at the 2-hour mark, and we'll give you all a race update. But these two still fighting it out. Through the high bankings of turn 4. And that is the current driver, the number 10. Yep, Ricky Taylor is aboard that car. Has gotten around the number 60 of Tom Blomqvist. Was that a pass for the lead? Or has the 60? No, the 60's just been in the pits. So Westbrook has regained the lead. And the order settles down once again. Still very, very close between them all. As it appears, only 25 seconds separating those top 4 in DPI, with just over 2 hours remaining. So then these Porsches going by a stricken, slower BMW, the 9 and the 2. These two have been chasing each other through the entire race, and still, even now, 22 hours into this, they're still inseparable. Will the 2 make its way on the outside? Thought about it, but unable to get enough of a run. Who is in the number 2 right now? That's Lorenz Vantor is in that car right now, a very, very experienced Porsche pilot. And just behind Matthew Jaminet is in the number 9, and in the number 2 is Lorenz Vantor. They've been on the same team before. They are, you know, very, very close. They're Porsche factory drivers. Porsche sent them here, and well, they know what they're doing. That is for sure. Onto the high banks. This will be their 653rd lap that these cars have done. A very, very good pace for this Daytona. Not record-breaking. We've had too many cautions. 699 laps complete for the number 5 Cadillac. Nearly 700, but still a very, very quick pace we've seen during this race. No rain in sight, not a cloud in the sky, but very, very cold. Of course, a lot of teams now will be hoping for a yellow. Something to throw the field back together. The SVAF Porsche is defending now. Will the 2 KCMG try to go around the outside this time? No, still not able to do so down into turn 1 and exiting turn 1 into the S's. He'll stay right close with the 2, or with the 9. Thinks about going around the outside. I don't think there's going to be enough grip there, and there's nearly contact between the 2 Porsches. The 2 tries to do a little switcheroo and is unsuccessful. Now the 2 following the 9 through the kink. Vantor very aggressive, trying to find every weakness in Jaminet. After the second horseshoe, now down to turn 6, bumpy turn 6. They'll bump onto the banking. NASCAR turns 1 and 2. The 2 KCMG of Vantor will begin to close up on the hole that Jaminet is punching in the air. He's going to get closer, closer, closer. Will he decide to make a run into the bus stop? No. It's incredible just watching how calm Jaminet looks in the car. He just, you know, getting a little something out of his eye, and just even in the midst of this battle, he seems so calm, so collected, and it's incredible just how cool these drivers have to be under pressure. Through NASCAR 4. And now we see this perhaps might be a battle for the LMP2 lead, or is this the 81 trying to put the 52 a lap down? Was there contact? The 81 of Colton Herta tried to go around the outside of the 52 Orca to put him a lap down, yes, and was unsuccessful, although I believe the 52 has been lapped now. Oh, and that is some another small issue for the 13. Actually, that's not small, for the LMP3. That is quite major. That is a lot of steam and smoke coming out of the back of that car from like the engine cover. It appears to be actually more of a tire rub on the left rear. Either that, but it just looks more steam-like. So certainly that is not supposed to be happening for that 13. And the 13 was 4th in class. Matthew Bell behind the wheel. That's the Duquesne. And some teams, the Jumbo LMP2 driven by Rinus VK, IndyCar driver, is into the pits for Racing Team Netherlands. There is a chance that if that number 13 is unable to get going in the LMP3, we may have a full course caution here. And the two Porsches, the number 9 and the number 2, Jaminet and Vanthor, both going into pit lane now. Their stalls separated by a few cars. Just Fuel going into the number 2. And here comes the BMW. Of course, they're many laps behind. But the 9 also only taking fuel. Looks like a full splash of fuel. Who's going to get out ahead? It looks like the number 9 is, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, the 9 has pulled a little bit of a gap on the 2, and a lot of cars are coming down pit road now, sensing the chance that there could be a yellow. I see the number 60 Acura DPI has just come down pit lane for a splash. The number 10 has as well. Everyone senses that there could be a caution period if this 31 of Matthew Bell is unable to get moving again. And it hasn't been able to get started yet. It is a little bit out of the way at the bus stop, and there it is. There is a caution flag that is flown. Those cars that all just took a pit stop are going to be in a great position here. Really good strategy calls from a lot of them. Those who didn't pit are going to fall back a little bit here. So the caution flag is out. I would be interested to know how many there have been. But I don't think that AWA number 13, Duquesne LMP3, is going to be going anywhere anytime soon. Seems unable to get it started, or at least move it. So, yellow flag period now. As they will try to get a safety vehicle out. See if they can get it started back again. Talking to the driver, figuring out what they can do. And it looks like they're going to just tow it back to the pit lane. They're figuring out a place they can hook the car. So they will haul the 13 back to the pit lane. Hopefully it won't be a very long yellow. And we will finally update our positions here. It is the number 5 Cadillac that continues to lead in DPI. LMP2 is still led by the 81. That's Colton Herta in that Dragon Speed USA car. The 74 Riley Motorsports Ligier of Felipe Fraga continues to lead LMP3. GTD Pro is now led by the number 62 Ferrari of James Collado, but they will have to pit during this next cycle of pit stops, so they may Risi Competizione How do you spell commentazione? I'm gonna have to look that up now. Okay, I was wrong. So that is a change in position for the leader GTD Pro. Obviously that will change. And then the Wright Motorsports Porsche continues to lead up there. So this was with basically 2 hours to go. This is how they stack up. We'll say actually with 1 hour 45. Well, it's 1 hour 50. So that is Ricky Taylor in the Acura DPI for Wayne Taylor Racing. We'll see how this restart will shake up the DPI field, how the pit stops will affect things. As the field will all be brought together again, the 4 DPIs left on the lead lap in this race. So they trundle around under safety car for now. With just 1 hour 48 remaining. Richard Westbrook leads in the number 5 Mustang sampling Cadillac, although I don't believe they took the opportunity to pit right before the yellow came out, so they will lose a couple of spots. Wayne Taylor looks bitterly nervous as usual. So really he's quite normal. DPI is now coming to pit lane, and that's the number 5 and the 31, the JDC Miller Motorsports, and the Action Express. Also the leading LMP2 is in the pits of Colton Herta. The 60, Meyer Schenk, is back into the pits. And there may have been a driver change there. I was checking out the timing screen. And they'll obviously have to stop because of the red light at pit exit. So an hour 46 remains. DPIs and prototypes in their pit group are exiting now. So it's Ricky Taylor, then Tom Blomqvist, then Loic Duval has indeed gotten behind the wheel of the number 5. We're being told currently that Mike Conway is currently still behind the wheel of the Whelen Engineering 31. GT cars will be in just a moment. Now I believe that Magnus Racing in the number 44 will be able to get their lap back now, if we have the wave arounds here. So GT cars should be in this time. Also, a brief just shout out to my main channel, Motors to Coasters. If you feel the need to subscribe, then feel free. The link is in the description. I appreciate you all tuning in to watch. As GTD traffic is now coming into the pits. That's the number 62 Risi Competizione Ferrari, the Wright Motorsports Porsche, and then also both the KCMG and FAF Porsche, all those that are fighting for the lead of the class in GTD Pro, and then of course leader in GTD. They're all into the pit lane now, so that Risi Competizione Ferrari will actually be in the hunt. They will not be behind as they pitted with the rest of them. So Wright Motorsports about to leave the pits, and there they go. Of course, Jan Halen is stepping behind the wheel now. You can see the entire field just snaking through the infield. We should have a couple more laps under yellow. I don't know if there will be wave arounds. I would assume there would be, but they may not, depending, because it is a very short yellow. So we're getting into the final stretch now. It's 12 p.m. The race will be over at about 1:40, so we just have an hour 40 remaining. It is really going to be a sprint to the finish now. We're going to see all the guys who were in the car till the end in their cars now. They all want that Rolex. So it all comes down to this. All of the racing that we've had so far, the nighttime hours that ticked along by, then sunrise, it all leads up to this. Spotter is high above the grandstands. The grandstands themselves beginning to fill a little bit. As we wait for the green flag and the call to get back to racing. And yes, I can report that the number 44 Aston Martin of Magnus Racing, Andy Lally behind the wheel, has gotten third place. And I believe that Stephen McAleer may also have gotten his lap back. So that would put 4 cars in GTD on the lead lap. GTD Pro, we have 4 cars as well running on the lead lap. Jack Hawksworth in the number 14 Lexus has found himself on the lead lap there. And also, of course, we've got 4 cars that will be on the lead lap in DPI as well. LMP2, it is only 3 on the lead lap. And there are 3 on the lead lap as well in LMP3. So we still have several cars in each class in contention with the shot of the win. It appears we're having the last wave bys or wave arounds going on now, and everyone's slotting into position, either in the prototype or GT field. So Ricky Taylor has led 86 of the 707 laps just by himself. Now is the calm, the relaxation before we get to the real battle. Wright Motorsports and AF Corsa, they're going to be having a battle to the finish. So we should be going green very, very soon. Colton Herta remains on board the number 81. Felipe Fraga remains on board the number 74 LMP3. Those are your class leaders in LMP2 and LMP3. Of course, the 81 is from Dragon Speed USA. And it looks to me like we should be having a restart this time. And indeed it is. Ricky Taylor controlling the field. There is these several laps down, many laps down, 02 Cadillac in between him and Tom Blomqvist in the number 60 Meyershank Racing. As they head back to the restart, Ricky Taylor hits the throttle and we are back green racing here at Daytona. Ricky Taylor gets through the S's ahead of the others. They remain fairly one by one. In the GT battle, there's a little bit of traffic in between some of them. It's hard to tell who's really where. Timing and scoring is struggling to get everything straight as well, but the two Acuras are at the front now with Ricky Taylor ahead of the number 60 pink and white Meyershank Racing driven by Tom Blomqvist. They are leading the field, it says, by 2 laps, which is incorrect. They should all be on the lead lap there. So hopefully that'll get updated here when they go across the line, but these two are right on each other, and Duval in the 5 Cadillac and 31 of Conway are all right there as well. All 4 of these guys are very, very close together. Onto the turn 3 banking. Hopefully as they all go across the line, we'll get a better idea of who is where with the timing and scoring. It appears there's still some troubles with the scoring. That would be a major problem in this race if the scoring is messed up. I'm sure they'll get it fixed. But we know that these 4 are very, very close right now. They're all on the lead lap. So unfortunately we can't really see who is where at the moment, as the timing and scoring is incorrect, but I can tell you that these Cadillacs, these Acuras, these DPIs are very close together, especially Ricky Taylor and Tom Blomqvist, and then you've got Louis Duval and Mike Conway, the 10, the 16, the 5, and the 31 in that order. They're all getting into their final stints now. Yeah, timing and scoring is unfortunately not updating. And that's not a problem on our end, that's a problem on IMSA's end. Now the 2 Porsches continue to battle. That's the number 9 FAF Porsche and the number 2 KCMG. They are, of course, first and second. That's Jaminet and Vantor. These two have been inseparable as they go through the International Horseshoe. Through the second horseshoe now. And then into turn 6 onto the banking. The GTD leading Porsche is just chilling out behind them as well of Jan Halen. He may want to get in this fight even though it's not in his class. Although he'll want to be mindful that they are battling for the lead in a separate class even though he is in the same car as them. Oh, and we have a battle for the lead in LMP2 on the apron. Nearly is the number 29 to the inside of the 81. That might be Rinus VK past the 81. That is a change for the lead, I would believe, between Colton Herta and Rinus VK. If our timing would update, that would help as well severely. And it appears it has. Is that a... we'll have to see. I believe that would be for first and second. And this time, Lawrence Vantor, is he going to go deep? No, he's not going to go deep on Matthew Jaminet. He is unable to get around the outside. He's going to try and set him up here for the International Horseshoe. Through the S's they go. Around the outside, is Vantor going to try it? No, he's going to try and cut to the inside. He's right touching. He is actually on Jaminet's bumper as they go through the International Horseshoe. Unable to get by now through the kink. They're following each other through. Vantor is not going to be able to do anything this time by, I don't think, unless he maybe tries something into the bus stop, but they are still very close together. And Jan Halen and the number 16 Wright Motorsports Porsche is like, hey, I want to get by. I'm faster. Even though he's in a separate class, he's leading in GTD, and he wants to get away from the other GTDs right now. And we lose the coverage for a second, but our timing and scoring is updated. They do have everything correct now. Ricky Taylor leads in the number 10 Acura DPI. I'll do that every time. As this battle continues on in GTD Pro, this is going to go right to the end between these two Porsches. It is still Colton Herta in the Dragon Speed that is scored as leading in LMP2. LMP3 lead stays the same, but we'll get back to that in a second, as Vantor is the closest he has ever been to Jaminet, but he chooses not to go around. Maybe he's playing the long game. Could he be saving fuel here? He seems eager to get by, but at the same time, he did not pull out of the draft of Jaminet. Did he feel as if he might be under attack from the lower class GTD behind him? Perhaps, because he does seem very eager to get behind Jaminet. He's rubbing Jaminet's bumper even more here as they go into the International Horseshoe. Out they go. Jaminet is really under pressure right now from Vantor, who has literally been touching him at times. The two Porsches, KCMG and Pfaff. KCMG the attacker, Pfaff the defender. As they go through the second horseshoe, once again onto the banking. No matter what Vantor tries, he seems he's just not quite able to get by that Porsche. And there is always the question of, does he really want to? Is he maybe trying to save a little fuel? Now what happened here, this was the replay of the 29 Rinus VK all the way down on the apron partially, and he was actually under the apron getting past the 81. I wonder if there will be a penalty for that. I believe VK just got his lap back is what occurred there. And oh, we have a battle for the lead in DPI. Ricky Taylor is trying to defend his position from Tom Blomqvist. Tom Blomqvist is on the inside as they head to the banking. They're side by side through NASCAR 1 and 2, and they'll remain that way. Blomqvist seems to have a little bit of the edge right now. Blomqvist stays to the inside. Ricky Taylor and them, they're both side by side. They almost touch as they go onto the back straightaway. I think Ricky Taylor will have the edge into the braking. Who's going to brake later? Blomqvist brakes later, and the Meyershank Racing Acura DPI number 60 is into the lead ahead of Ricky Taylor. That was a great pass by Blomqvist. Well done. Setting it up through turn 6, the bumpy turn 6 onto the oval. But of course, Ricky Taylor is going to be in the draft here. Is he going to try and get up alongside? Is he going to try and take back this position into turn 1? Is he going to have enough of a run to be even able to do so? And he's going to pull to the outside. Oh, they almost touch again, and Ricky Taylor is on the outside. They're squeezing into turn 1. Ricky Taylor locks up a little bit, and Blomqvist is able to get through again on the inside. This is great. And those DPIs behind Duval and Conway are right there as well. Now all 4 of them are all together. This is incredible as they go through the International Horseshoe. Blomqvist is actually able to get away a little bit. Now Ricky Taylor is under pressure from Louis Duval and the number 5 Mustang Sampling Cadillac. They're all in this fight together right now with 1 hour 24 remaining. It doesn't get much better than this. The number 60 has managed to pull a little bit of a gap, Tom Blomqvist has. And the 10 is now trying to defend from the 5. Louis Duval is on his inside now. They are almost touching as they go on the banking. Is Ricky Taylor going to lose another position here? Duval is side by side. Ricky Taylor senses that they might almost touch, goes a little bit up the banking. And they're side by side down the back straightaway. Duval is able to outbrake Ricky Taylor. I don't think there's a problem with Ricky Taylor. I think he may just be a little bit flustered right now after losing their lead. He is going backwards at the moment with Mike Conway sure to maybe get in his draft soon as well. Oh, and now they're side by side in GTD Pro as Larry Vantour tries to go around the outside in the International Horseshoe. They're going to go side by side. Are they going to go side by side through the kink? They touch. Is Lawrence Vantour going to give up? Neither one of them give up. Vantour almost goes off the track. He's in the dust for KCMG. Wow, that was close for Vantour. He was super, super aggressive there. He was almost off the racetrack. He's now in the clutches of that GTD regular Wright Motorsports Porsche. Of course, he's going to try not to get involved with this, but Halen has to be getting very frustrated. They touched and went side by side through the kink with over an hour left. That's more of a do or die move, more towards the end of the race. Vantour needs to be careful next time. He almost had that position. I could sense that he was getting frustrated, and that could have been disastrous for the KCMG Porsche. Wow, what an intense few minutes we've just had there. That was very, very, very close for the KCMG. I believe maybe a little bit of wheel touch for the 9 and the 2 there. Of course, Vantour will come back. But that was a very, very sketchy moment at the kink in between the 2 horseshoes there. The Tom Blomqvist leads this race now ahead of Louis Duval. That Meyershank Racing in the hands of Blomqvist, I have to say, over these last restart is looking really, really good. And I have to say, so is Duval, but maybe not to the extent that the 60 is able to. There is a red helmeted Castro Neves ready to take over for the number 60. We will be seeing Elio Castro Neves take over for the number 60 for the final hour or so of this race. But Blomqvist is doing an incredible job in the car right now, and I just seen that the 31 has gotten ahead of the 5 Cadillac, so that's a change. The Whelen Engineering is ahead now. Where is Ricky Taylor then in the number 10? We'll have to keep an eye on that, but Vantour is just relentless. He's caught right back up to the 9 Pfaff Porsche as they go on to the banking of NASCAR 1 and 2, and well, it's going to be side by side all over again here in just a moment as they go exit NASCAR turn 2 onto the back straightaway. Vantour is not going to have any opportunity to do anything into the bus stop or the newly named Le Mans chicane. but he is going to want to hold his nerve here. And if the team can just calm him down on the radio, say he's got an hour left, just think of this strategically. Think of the traffic that may come into play with slower cars or the faster prototypes coming by. Don't think that Vantor will be able to try anything down into turn 1. He seems to like that outside line a lot more than the number 9 Pfaff Porsche of Jaminet does. To the, and they touch again. Vantor is trying to move Jaminet out of the way. He is desperate for this lead, and they're side by side again. Are they going to do this again? There's no way that Vantor is going to try this time. He is smart and backs out of it. That was almost deja vu from just a few minutes ago, and Vantor did get in the dust a little bit again. Here comes Blomqvist around these leaders. He's going to get held up in traffic a little bit here, and I did just see, I think that is the number 10 in second there, as we've just lost TV coverage for a second. Yeah, Ricky Taylor has fought his way back to second. And Loic Duval in the 5 Cadillac has sadly fallen to 4th position. They seem to have lost a little pace on this most recent run. Well, this is going to be right down to the wire. As we just wait to see where things stack up here. Once again, these Porsches are just identical almost on pace. They have such similar performance. Vantor is just trying so hard to get by. And Jan Halen is really trying to get by these guys too. They're holding him up, but he can't get involved in their battle. And it'll be interesting, how much of a gap does Halen have as they check out the replay there to Nicholas Nielsen. He only has a 5-second gap. So if he gets caught up in something with these leaders, that could be devastating for Jan Halen in that 16 Wright Motorsports Porsche for GTD. Because obviously we talked about this, that this was going to be a an issue, a difficulty for these guys with GTD Pro and GTD. Being very similar on pace, especially once you get some of the pros in. And Jan Halen, of course, is right with these guys. He's a Porsche factory driver. And so these guys are, you know, either they're giving him draft, which is helping him. But if, you know, if they start battling and getting slowed down, that's going to hold him up. And don't forget, if these two Porsches up front get a little bit too close and personal, and there's an incident, that Risi Competizione Ferrari is right there ready to strike, just 4 seconds back. Well, Townsend Bell has completed his stint in the Lexus. He looks fresh. Good to see him doing double duties again with television and racing. And of course that Rolex watch, it's about to be on someone's wrist. That's really the only Rolex they want. Plenty of guys, they could go to a Rolex store, buy a Rolex if they wished. They could buy the exact watch, but that would be cheating. They don't want that. They want the one from Daytona because of how special this race is and how much it means to win at the 24 Hours of Daytona. The 9 and 2, every time we look, they're always right together. And it's still just Vantor just desperately trying everything he can to get around the 9. If I were him, I would be radioing the team and say, there's got to be something we can do in these next pit stops to jump ahead of the 9, maybe just a little bit, just enough. and hope for a caution, or do you just put your faith in Vantor that he'll be able to get around the 9 on track? In the meantime, Tom Blomqvist in the 60 is behind the wheel and now has a second gap over Ricky Taylor, who in turn has about a second over the 31 of Mike Conway. I believe that Blomqvist will be getting out of the car at the next stint, and Castroneves will be taking that number 60 Meyershank Racing DPI to the lead. What a story it would be if Meyershank Racing is able to win the 24 Hours of Daytona. They struggled a lot last year, but that car is looking just really, really good right now. And with Helio Castroneves, if he gets at the helm, as long as he is able to take this thing, the nerves don't get to him, and he can keep that car under control, they've got a shot at that. But there's also a Ricky Taylor factor, and Ricky Taylor in a Wayne Taylor racing car is powerful. Now Vantor in the GTD Pro is going to try and go around the outside. He does his usual undercut on Jaminet, and he's not going to try to do anything through the kink. He's realized that that is simply not going to happen. There's a PR1 Matheson lap car of Mikkel Jensen coming by here in some traffic. That's going to affect things a little bit and compromise the entrances and exits of these guys. Of course, Vantor is basically, through his driving language there, telling that LMP2 not to come through at turn 6. Now he lets him through. And these two are very, very close together. Now, I must report that Herta and Delatraz, the 81 and 8, there is a battle for the lead in LMP2 as well. At times, it looked like the Dragon Speed USA team, finally, the star power of Herta and O'Ward and all of them had things under control. But now it is a very, very close fight as Louis Delatraz, there's a seagull, as Louis Delatraz, a very, very talented and experienced racing driver, is in prototypes and high downforce machinery. They're all right together, and this is going to be an interesting one to watch as well. That's Tower Motorsport and Dragon Speed, two very well-known names in LMP2 IMSA racing. About a half a second between them now, as deep on the brakes is the 8 of Delatraz into the International Horseshoe. They'll thunder out of that. There's a Mercedes lap traffic that they're going to have to get by. 81 might get held up a little bit in the kink. And as they go into the second horseshoe, this is going to be one battle of many that we're going to have to keep our eyes on. There's several, you know, very, very tight battles. And speaking of, here we are back to GTD Pro. These two Porsches, I feel like I'm seeing the same shot every single time we come back here. That KCMG Porsche is just not quite able to get by Matthew Jaminet. Vantor gets so close. I mean, you could almost taste it, and he is still just unable to pass the Pfaff Porsche. Yep, onto the banking. They're just so similar in speed. There really is just such a minimal difference between the two. Some LMP2 traffic is going to be coming through now. A little bit more of a spread between them now. As they continue to just be really, really close. Vantor likes to take that really wide, deep line and then cut in at turn 1. Jaminet tends to take a little bit more kind of steady line throughout the corner, and Vantor closes up so much in the braking zone, but then that's compromising his exit a little bit. But this time he is right on that Pfaff Porsche. Is he going to try anything? Not quite, but he might try something into the International Horseshoe. These two just won't quit. Two factory Porsche pilots, some of the best in the business, and they are out here just fighting tooth and nail for an hour. I feel like I've been talking about this battle. It just doesn't quit. They're so evenly matched. Still just unable to do something onto the banking, as we see the number 5 Cadillac of Louis Duval is now coming into the pits. It'll be a fuel and tire stop for the JDC Miller Motorsports Cadillac. We will take a very short break, but do not worry, we will be right back. Welcome back. We race on as Ricky Taylor is taking a 31-second pit stop, and we'll be back out onto the racetrack. Now, has Tom Blomqvist come into the pits, and did Helio Castroneves get in? It says he is in the pit lane now, so on my delayed stream a little bit, I think he is coming in. And we should see that here in just a moment. And indeed, Blomqvist dives for the pit lane. That should be Helio Castroneves that will be getting in the car for this final hour, the most important hour of the 24 hours of Daytona. In he goes. There is Elio, the red and black helmet. Castroneves on the side. Blomqvist, what an impeccable job Blomqvist has done. Outstanding driving from that number 60 for that number 60 Acura, and Castroneves will be getting into the finish. All these guys so close, so tight together, and it will all come down to this final hour and pit stop cycles, really, as to who is going to win. Will fuel consumption come into this? That's very likely as well. There are so many variables, and it's all so close together. A little bit of luck is going to come into winning in DPI. In LMP2, our previous leader, Colton Herta, is into the pit lane. Louis Delatraz and Mikkel Jensen in the 8 and 52 respectively will go by him. However, they will need to come down to the pits as well. Him and Delatraz are very, very close. It appears that Herta will stay behind the wheel. Of course, this is the car that has 3 IndyCar or to-be IndyCar drivers. You have Pato O'Ward and Colton Herta, and then Devlin DeFrancesco will also be in IndyCar next year. These 3 piloting the Dragon Speed LMP2. Fuel going in, and on their way is the Kamoa sponsored, the number 81, bright yellow and orange, visible from Space Machine. So, Castroneves in the car. That leaves Conway in the lead in the 31 Whelen Engineering Cadillac DPI. They will have to come down the pits very shortly with their 42nd lead. And that would leave Castroneves in the number 60 Meyershank Racing Acura DPI out ahead of Ricky Taylor in the number 10. Well, the heart rate begins to increase right about now if it hasn't already. Castroneves trying to get those tires warm on that Acura. Because hard charging Ricky Taylor, who has already had one of his he's already had a stint on this run. He will be very well warmed up. It was funny, speaking of warming up, we did see Elio Castroneves sitting up there with his helmet on and a little blinky, trying to stay warm before he gets inside that cockpit. He will have no trouble staying warm now, putting in the work to stay in that lead. Of course, no lead right now. Conway in the 31 remains the leader, but they are on a little bit of a different pit stop cycle. And that's what all this may come down to, as the 31 dives for pit lane now. Will Conway stay in the car, or will someone else take over for him? We will find out. Yes, that looks like Pippo Durrani, the Dynamo, going into the car for their final stint. His final stint in the Cadillac. The final stint of the Cadillac. And the last time that, of course, they'll be at Daytona before the LMDH and LMH regulations come in. Filling up finally on the last bit of fuel. 31 seconds, 32, and away they go. Now, will he get out ahead of Elio Castroneves in the number 60 here? By mathematical perspective, the 60 should be able to take the lead as the 31 trundles down the pit lane. It looks like that will occur here, but I don't think the gap will be all that massive. Where is the 31? There he is exiting pit lane. It will be a fairly significant gap, probably about 10 seconds or so, as also Ricky Taylor goes by as well. Now, will they actually come out side by side with Ricky Taylor there and the Whelen Engineering Cadillac? I don't think so. So the number 60 Meyershank Racing continues to lead here. as this is a battle for second position, or third position, pardon me. That's the number 10 Kanaka Minolta. I think the tires may still be a little bit chilly on that car. And the number 5 Mustang Sampling, of course, on a different pit strategy. Now pressuring them for fourth as the pace in these cars ebbs and flows. That is Loic Duval, of course, in that number 5. Don't count these guys out just yet. Onto the tri-oval they go. Start their 730th lap of the race. It's a 4-second gap from Ricky Taylor to Castroneves, so this is the battle for third. Of course, the 31 Cadillac was in, so Pippo Durrani, of course, now fourth. He'll have a little bit of work to do if he wants to be in the hunt for this, and I think they'll need a little bit of luck as well, perhaps a safety car to bunch these guys up, because for now, Castroneves is fairly smooth sailing up front, but we'll have to see how his pace compares to Loic Duval, who's made a little bit of contact with the Inception Racing McLaren. He's able to get away spin-free, just a minor little tap, but still, that won't be comforting by any means for Loic Duval in the number 5. A little bit of LMP2 traffic on the banking. Pace is about even between the two of them so far, even in the draft for Loic Duval. Maybe he'll have to make something work into the turn 1, slippery turn 1. Just after the tri-oval, next to the funky pit lane, all the Rolex signs. And I have to move my time, I'm afraid, because we are under an hour remaining. We have 57 minutes left in this race. So this is what it all comes down to. And once again, traffic is playing a key role in this race. So we will update our timing and scoring. It is Elio Castroneves that leads in DPI. This seems to be the one that I always have to change. Number 60, Meyershank Racing. And then it's still Dragon Speed and LMP2. Colton Herta behind the wheel. Felipe Fraga still behind the wheel. That's a long stint in that LMP2 there. He's got a lap lead on the field. Matthew Gemini in the 9 Porsche does seem to have gotten a little bit more of a stable lead at this point. The FAF Porsche. And the Wright Motorsports continues to lead by 5 seconds in GTD. That is your class runners with just 1 hour remaining. We'll check in again with 30 minutes to go. But this battle, once again, Ricky Taylor is almost touching Loic Duval as he doesn't quite go for that move into turn 1. It almost looked like the move that Loic Duval, Richard Westbrook in the number 5 Cadillac tried to make on Ricky Taylor at the end of the Roar qualifying race, but in reverse order. But Ricky Taylor decided against that. So now we're finally getting into, of course, just the minutes and seconds now. No more hours on the clock. Castro Neves has a 5-second lead now. This is looking good for the Meyershank Racing team if they can just hold it together and stay smooth for the remainder of the race. Michael Schenk watches on. They've been trying this race for a long time now. Oh, and a little bit of a lockup there. They stay safe. Just Castro Neves got a little bit wide. Must be watching the coverage on a little bit of delay. Talking to Elio now. And that brings, I just noticed Louis Duval has gotten past, or has remained past Ricky Taylor, and he is only a few seconds away now from Castro Neves. They are in the same picture. That is not 3 seconds, that is about 1 from Castro Neves to Louis Duval. Those two very, very close together now. And there is a car stopped on circuit. That's the number 19 T3 Racing Lamborghini. I believe it is T3 Racing. TR3 Racing, pardon me. And we will have to see if they're able to get going. Pfaff Porsche is in the pits. They have got a, they're getting tires and fuel, I believe, or is it just fuel? Oh, and now we have a lead, battle for the lead in DPI. Duval has caught up very quickly to Castro Neves. Castro Neves is in trouble here into the second horseshoe. They are, Duval is right on Castro Neves. Is he going to look to the outside, the inside? Neither, as they go through turn 6. Onto the banking. Will Duval get a run here into the bus stop? Of course he will. He's going to be in the draft. That Cadillac, is it strong enough on the banking? Is there enough of a pull from that 60 punching a hole in the air to get a run in the bus stop? I think he's going to be too far back this time. I don't think the run was great enough, but if he can get through, get a good run through the bus stop here, then they've got a, then Duval has got a shot into the, oh, and there's a caution on the track just as that's about to happen. That is for the number 19 Lamborghini, I believe. So just like that, the race will be frozen, and we're gonna get all these guys bunched up with 50 minutes to go. The 19 was unable to get started. It appears some sort of a mechanical gremlin. The number 19 was running 8th in class, some 14 laps back from the leader. There's actually quite the significant amount of attrition for that class, as there are only, of course, now actually just showing 2 cars on the lead lap, as I believe Jan Halen may have pitted. So currently Nicholas Nielsen leads in the 21 Ferrari. Of course, that's all going to cycle through with these pit stops, and changes will be made. We will let you know who is where. So that Meyershank Racing Cadillac of Elio Castroneves just barely saved from a lead change of Loic Duval there, right as the caution came out to save him there. We will see what kind of pit stops are made. Are these guys going to get on similar strategies? Is there still going to be some strategic play? It all remains to be seen here. High above, beautiful Daytona, many RVs, campers, cars, fans, race cars. Plentiful sunshine, not so plentiful warmth. Still affecting getting those tires up to temperature is the chilliness. If we check the Daytona weather, it is certainly not exactly seasonal. I've just seen the video of the car that was on fire. That was from earlier in the day. Actually, about 8 hours ago. But as we check the weather again, it is 51 degrees in Daytona. I'm going to go ahead and listen to see what car that was on fire earlier. Just listening to the audio. I'll be right back in a moment. Checking out the highlights of the race thus far. It'll still be a quick minute. I was trying to see what I missed out on in the night. So we didn't actually see the fire in the highlights. So just rummaging through the highlights. Of course, there were several dramas for different teams and drivers and prototypes throughout the night. Chip Ganassi experiencing the majority of those problems, taking both of their cars out of contention. But yeah, now we're back, and the DPIs, the 4 of them are into the pit lane. It'll all just be about who can get the best stop. Just a splash of fuel going into 60. No tires for them, but tires for the number 5 Cadillac of Loic Duval. The 60 just barely gets out ahead of the 31, who I would say also only took fuel. As they're all going to have to stop and wait for the pit road light to turn green. Which it does there. And there you go, that DPI field all separated by nothing. It's all going to come down to who has the best car. And also, taking tires may have been very, very beneficial for that number 5 Cadillac. Some of the others, of course, the Meyershank racing car didn't. Maybe they didn't have the tires to do so, but I certainly would have taken tires at this stage in the game, because you're going to be waiting on pit road for the red light to turn green. So either way, you're going to be right next to each other as you get back onto the racetrack. So we'll have to see if it was all really just track position, being first on there. But you know, there's also the fact that those fresh tires can certainly get you somewhere. We'll have to see how it all plays out. This time by GT Field will be taking their opportunity to visit the pit lane. That GTD Pro battle continues just the same, with the FAF Porsche leading ahead of the number 2 KCMG Porsche. Gemini versus Vantor. What a battle it has been. 1 o'clock now. Just 41 minutes remain. Here come the GT cars. I see Risi Competizione and also AF Corsa and GTD Pro and GTD respectively coming in. One of the Northwest AMR Aston Martins. Magnus Racing, one of the Lamborghinis, one of the BMWs, but most importantly, James Colato in the 62 Ferrari was briefly leading in the field, and I think that some of these teams, like the 2 Porsches, have figured out that if you pit right before the yellow, you won't have to wait in pit lane, and you can gain in a little bit of an advantage and stay ahead of those who pit in the pit lane. You don't have that possibility of losing those positions due to a poor stop. You see Magnus Racing, tires and fuel. They'll send the number 44 of Andy Lally out there, currently in second. He'll be passed by Jan Halen. That will send him back to third, but all 3 of those guys are on the lead lap. So soon we'll be going back to green. The Rolex watch is prepared in victory lane. Just now waiting for the field to go back to green. There will be probably around 35 minutes left. A real sprint to the finish. So your leaders in DPI, still the number 60 of Elio Castroneves. Without fresh tires, will they still be able to contend on the restart? We can see the 31 coming back in, it looks like, for another just little splash of fuel, as well as the 5. Both coming in to top off on fuel. Action Express and JDC Miller Motorsports. Perhaps just because now, if you top off now and save, it is just barely possible to go to the end. And with a little bit of safety car help with another lap or two, this may be a winning strategy here from the Whelen Cadillac and the Mustang sampling. It could be that the two Acuras don't feel comfortable going to the end yet on fuel, and perhaps next lap we'll see them in. It is still caution flag period, but they just topped up on fuel there, and those two Cadillacs will be good to go to the end. Fans getting back in the grandstands at Daytona. We take a look at the hideous BMW M4 safety car with its large buck teeth grille. Here come the two leaders. That's the 60 and the 10. Getting up behind the safety car. Still some wave arounds and such going on right now. Weaving under the yellow flag just to try and keep some heat in those tires, if any. Here comes the leading Tower Motorsports LMP2. For a small splash of fuel, all these LMP2s just trying to make it to the end as well. The Tower Motorsports LMP2 of of Louis Delatraz is out in front of Colton Herta in the 81. The LMP2 battle is going to be one that goes to the end as well. Hopefully soon this yellow flag period will be over and we will be back to racing for what is going to be a wild final 30 minutes, 1/48th of this 24-hour race. Last time Michael Shank Racing, of course now Meyer Shank Racing, won the 24 Hours of Daytona was back in 2012. Where it beat out Starworks Motorsport. It has been 10 years, and boy would Meyer Shank Racing love to finally be back in victory lane, winners of the Rolex 24. Well, here they are now, Elio Castroneves at the wheel. He's just got to remain calm and get a good restart. Michael Shank communicating with the team, giving any tidbit he can, trying to make sure everything is going as it should be to give Elio the best chance at winning this race. We are soon to return to green. Everyone just weaving as they go down to the front straightaway, still trying to keep heat in their tires. It's just a snake of just weaving cars, because this is a little bit of a longer yellow than we seem to have had the last time. We'll take a look at that LMP2 battle again. And the cars on the lead lap are there are 4 cars in LMP2 also on the lead lap. Louis Delatraz leads with Colton Herta just behind Mikkel Jensen, and a third in the 81 and then 52. So it's good to see PR1 Matheson Motorsports is right there as well. And Gio van der Garde in the number 29 Racing Team Netherlands is right there as well. All 4 of those a shot at the win in LMP2. So that's going to be something else to follow, not just our main prototype category. Of course, LMP3, Felipe Fraga has a lap on the rest of the field in that number 74 Ligier. And Matthew Jaminet leads in that number 9 Pfaff Porsche in GTD Pro. With Jack Hawksworth, actually Lawrence Vantor in the number 2 KCMG Porsche. Still, those two are on the same strategy. They're almost the same speed. Vantor is going to really have to try something to take that lead from the 9 Pfaff Porsche. Jack Hawksworth in the number 14 Lexus is right there as well, and Alessandro Pierre Guidi in the 62 Ferrari. All 4 of them will be close together on the restart and in with the shot. GTD quickly in, Halen in the Pfaff Porsche, in the Wright Motorsports Porsche, Nicholas Nielsen in the 21 Ferrari, and Andy Lally in the number 44 Aston Martin. All those three are on the lead lap. Those are your battles. Those are your class leaders, your chances to win. We are back to green from Daytona. Elio Castroneves leads the DPI field to green with Ricky Taylor right behind, and the Wheelan and JDC Miller Motorsports ready to strike as they head down to turn one. They're going to go to the inside. Ricky Taylor locks up a little bit. He thought about going to the outside, then the inside, unable to do either as they snake through the S's for the 742nd time. A little bit of dust flies. There's the LMP2 battle for the lead. It's between PR1 Matheson and Tower, and the Mustang sampling car has gone a little wide. He's going to get stuck in traffic. Louis Duval has been forced a little wide off the circuit, and he will be towards the back of this DPI field. A couple back markers in there as well. Elio Castroneves leads from Ricky Taylor as they go around the second horseshoe. There was a bit of a fight in DPI right behind. There's some lap cars that are going around and just kind of fighting on track, wishing they could be up in front of this fight. However, Elio Castroneves has pulled a slight gap on Ricky Taylor. These two seem to be just a little bit above the rest, head and shoulders. Especially Pippo Durrani. These three are really the ones in the fight now, as Louis Duval is going to have a little bit of an extra mountain to climb to get back to the front. So Ricky Taylor chasing down Elio Castroneves as they fly through NASCAR 3 and 4. Just 28 minutes remaining. Now we look at the GTD Pro Battle, split screen. Matthew Jaminet ahead of Lawrence Vantor. Is Lawrence Vantor going to be able to make up any ground coming through turn 4 and into the tri-oval? Down the straightaway into the tri-oval here, past the restart zone. Is Vantor going to try and go down the outside? He might. We're having a look at a replay from when the Mustang sampling was forced a little bit wide, and Vantor is unable to get past Jaminet. A little bit of a gap opened up there. He'll keep trying. And that was the 31 Wheelan car that forced the number 5 Cadillac of Duval a little bit wide. So that is, you know, there could perhaps be a penalty of some sort for that. If IMSA considers it an incident, but most likely if they see it, it's just hard racing. They'll probably just call it a racing incident. The Wheelan Engineering Cadillac was taking the preferred line anyway. But these two Acuras right here, Castroneves and Taylor, seem to be having it cut out for the fight for the lead. Remember, these guys were teammates at some point, or at least on the same team for Penske. Now they're fighting separate in the two Acuras for Meyershank Racing and Wayne Taylor Racing. Wayne Taylor, well, he looks, you know, so incredibly calm. Oh man, he is a nervous wreck as usual. His son tries to chase down Elio. They've managed to build up about a 2-second gap over Durrani in the 31 Cadillac. Change this. It is Tower Motorsports that is leading LMP2 ahead of Colton Herta. Oopsie daisy, I'm in all caps. Pato Award looks on. Devlin DeFrancesco. This is a great battle for the LMP2 lead as well. But the 8 seems to be just barely getting away. Maybe has the slight pace on the 81. But it's going to be very close on that front as well. Here we go, about half a second gap between Castroneves and Taylor back at the front in DPI. Down into turn 1 they go. Will Taylor get any closer on this lap? But it seems from the looks of things that these two Acuras, the Acuras have the advantage over the Cadillacs right now. These two are going to go right down to the wire. Ricky Taylor certainly will not give up. Through the bus stop, Taylor. Gap remaining fairly consistent to the Meyershank Acura. In fact, I believe the gap is widening a little bit. That Meyershank Acura looks very, very strong right now. Through turn 1. International Horseshoe. Gap remains fairly stable. And the fast Porsche appears to have gaps the number 2 KCMG just a little bit as well. As we checked in briefly on that battle. Some of these secondary cars in each of the classes are looking like they may just not have enough steam power to really get up there and fight. However, there are still 22 minutes remaining. Each minute something changes. So remember, Wayne Taylor Racing won the Rolex 24 in 2019. The horrible rain, the downpour that occurred. 2020 they won as well, and in 2021 it's been 3 in a row for the Wayne Taylor Racing team. If they win it this time, it'll make it 4 in a row. However, that Meyershank Cadillac looks very strong right now and continues to open up a little bit of a gap. Elio Castroneves is doing just that, about 1 second now. Still, they don't look very far apart going through the bus stop. Only 1 second, that's all the difference it makes for these two racing teams. Meyershank struggled a lot last year. I can't remember if they got a win ever last year. If they did, they only got 1 or so. So to have them come back and win the Rolex 24 would be an incredible, incredible story for them. But Ricky Taylor's getting a little bit closer now as they go through the S's after turn 1 and into the International Horseshoe. All Castroneves has to do is manage that gap. Remember, he's on a little bit older tires. Unless he and Ricky Taylor came back and got them. Ricky Taylor may also be on older tires as well. I'm not sure the extent of when they got their last pit stop with tires. Now we look back at the GT field. There is GT traffic coming up, and that is where this race, right now with 20 minutes to go, is going to be won or lost. That number 10 of Ricky Taylor looks closer than he has been to the 60 of Castroneves, who's now going to be coming up upon some GT traffic. He's going to be trying to get around them as efficiently as possible. So is Ricky Taylor as they chase each other through the traffic, through the banking. Castroneves might get held up a little bit here in traffic, and he does, and Ricky Taylor closes the gap immensely into turn 1. Castroneves is going to try and snake through 3 wide through the middle of GT cars. He nearly gets the 32 Gradient Racing Mercedes off, and the Mercedes nearly forces the 10 Wayne Taylor Racing off as they just force their way through the traffic. Now Castroneves has stabilized the gap, but here comes another round of traffic through the kink. That's going to hold him up massively, but he's also going to be caught around the outside. So is Ricky Taylor as they head around the second horseshoe. A couple of GT cars, a McLaren up in front now. That's going to have to get out of the way. Onto the banking. Will the Meyershank of Castroneves be compromised? Actually, it turns out it's going to be Ricky Taylor who's compromised by the Inception Racing McLaren. Splitting, threading the needle through the traffic through 1 and 2 NASCAR banked turns, trying to use a little bit of the draft from the GT cars if possible. I think both cars are going to catch traffic in a fairly bad place there at the bus stop. Both are able to get by though. So now it's just the ebb and flow of the traffic and who's going to hit it at the right time to win this race. And remember, if these two have an incident, the 31 of Pippo Durrani and Louis Duval are right there to steal this race from out from under these two Acura's skin. Through turn 1 again, there's a little bit of traffic. I believe that's the Magnus Aston Martin. He's not going to be getting too much. There we go. He gives some room. No, pardon. Here's the 44 Magnus Racing Aston Martin. Around the 10 of Ricky Taylor goes. Much, much closer to the 60 than he was a couple of laps ago, but still not making much more progress. Deep on the brakes now. It appears that yes, indeed, Ricky Taylor has closed the gap to Castroneves. He is certainly within draft range now, as long as he doesn't get compromised through turn 6. Really closes up on the braking, and then Elio Castroneves once again gains a little bit of time as they exit onto the banking. I can give you an update on Pato Award. Their team in the number 81 is second, just off of Louis Delatraz and the number 8 Tower Motorsports. So Award is right in the thick of the LMP2 battle in second, trying to fight for the lead, but currently unable to take the lead. That is where Pato Award is. Currently, Colton Herta is in that car. More traffic for the DPIs, Castroneves and Ricky Taylor through the banking, and once again onto the front straightaway. Oh man, they're just swerving around Jan Halen, who is the leader in the number 16 Porsche for GT Daytona. 9 seconds back is Andy Lally in the Aston Martin. It would be a great result for them if they get second place in this race, although I'm sure they would much prefer a win. Magnus Racing. It's great to see them competitive and doing well again. Meanwhile, in GTD Pro, well, the fight hasn't quit between the 9 FAF Porsche and the 2 KCMG, but it just seems like the 9 FAF Porsche has the edge over the 2. That's Matthew Jaminet and Lawrence Vantour. Yes, Pato O'Ward is getting on the podium at least. He is in second place right now. He has a fight for the win, but for now he is in second place. Traffic has meant that Castroneves has opened up a bit of a gap on Ricky Taylor here as they go around the banking. But yes, to answer your question, Pato O'Ward is only, well, his team, Colton Herta, in the car right now in the number 81 Dragon Speed, is in second. Yeah, it will be amazing to see if he gets into F1 for sure. I hope he does soon. He deserves it, but I think some more time in IndyCar would be beneficial for him as well. Meanwhile, Castroneves is keeping that gap stable. That's all he needs to do for the next 13 minutes for Meyershank Racing to win the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona. But there is still traffic, dangers, difficulties around every corner. Although there's only 12 of them on this track, they all seem to be so treacherous. And Ricky Taylor is very close again as they head around the International Horseshoe. Yeah, you're welcome, man. Through the kink, Castroneves remains ahead through the second horseshoe. I would put about 2 Acuras in between them. These 2 very colorful, pink and blue. Of course, black and blue for the Konica Minolta, the Wayne Taylor Racing, pink and white for the Meyershank as they go on to the banking. What time would this be? This would be the 752nd time. And after all these many times, it's only half a second. Remember that at the 2021 Indianapolis 500, Helio Castroneves took home the win for his 4th, or was it 5th, Indianapolis 500. I believe it's 4. I probably should research my facts better. But Helio Castroneves is now leading in that Meyershank DPI. It would be incredible within the span of 1 year if he can win the Indy 500 and the 24 Hours of Daytona. Helio is just so talented, and he's going to be in IndyCar more this year. And Meyershank Racing is incredibly lucky to have him under their possession. And it clearly shows as he's able... Oh no, and there's a problem for the Tower Motorsports LMP2. This was the leading LMP2. Is there a tire down? Is there something coming off the car? They're down on the apron heading to pit lane. No, there was contact between the 81. That was Colton Herta going for the lead in LMP2. And the 8 Tower Motorsports, driven by Louis Delatraz, just got in the grass at the bus stop, and they have damage. They are heading into the pits. There was actually no contact between the 81. The 8 just got spooked and had a little bit of a slide, and that is the 81. That is Pato O'Ward's team into the lead of LMP2. That is Dragon Speed, the team with all those IndyCar stars, into the lead of the race in LMP2, and the reactions from them were very wholesome, very happy, just relief. No, Andreas, you should be very happy. The 81 is in the lead. That is Herta's team. That is O'Ward's team. They are in the lead. They are leading. Delatraz in the 8 has gone to second. O'Ward's team is leading. Meanwhile, in GTD Pro, the gap is closer than ever. And for the FAF Porsche and the KCMG Porsche, Vantour is finally right back on the tail of Jaminet, maybe due to some traffic. Still unable to do anything. If that KCMG just had a little more straight line speed, they could make something happen. Closing up now to the bumper of the 9 FAF Porsche. Is he going to try the outside, or is he going to dive to the inside? There's lap traffic. He's going to block them for a moment. That is not great for the 81, but of course Herta is in the lead. Yeah, no, the 81 did not go off. The 8 was the one that went off. The 81, we're seeing them right now interfering with this GTD Pro battle. Herta is going to have to be very careful because these pro guys in GTD Pro are blocking him every second they get. He is losing so much time behind these two who are battling right now. Herta is losing seconds, more seconds as he finally gets past this battle between the 9 Pfaff Porsche and the 2 of Vantor. That really got into interference to this GTD Pro battle as well. The 9 of Jaminet now only just ahead of the 2. Can Vantor get a good exit onto the banking? Herta maintains a steady lead in the LMP2, but that did hold him up substantially. I think that Herta in the 81 will be okay for Dragon Speed, but that played a very key role in the 9 and the 81, and then of course the 81 tried to split those two, and that really had to make the 2 back off just a moment. That is interclass battling, and that is how the traffic can change the face of this race entirely. Still 8 minutes to go, and we're talking about the traffic. I must say that up front in DPI, the gap has opened up to a second between Castroneves and Ricky Taylor. This is looking good for Meyershank Racing, and I will, knock on wood, I don't want to jinx this thing because the commentator's curse is real and alive, but we will talk about GTD Pro this time. Vantor is going to try. Is he going to go up the inside? He's going to make contact with the 9. He's going to try and shove him out of the way. Exiting turn 1. They're side by side through the S's. Into the International Horseshoe. Is the 2 finally going to get by? No, the 9 goes down the inside. There's lap traffic at play again. The LMP2s are fighting. That's the number 29 and the 8, but then the 9 just barely retains the lead. The 2 was so close to making the job stick. Vantor was almost there, but Jaminet stays steady. The 2 is going to be rubbing as they go around the second horseshoe. This is incredible. This is so close racing down to the final 7 minutes of the race. LMP2 traffic still trying to get by. That's going to compromise the number 2 and the number 9, both their exits onto the banking. And just like that, Jaminet retains the lead and Vantor stays behind him with 7 minutes to go. The 2 was so close to getting the GTD Pro lead and was unable to. I will remind you one more time that if these 2 crash out, because it is very possible, they are rubbing and racing into every corner. Pierre Guidi in that number 62 Risi Competizione Ferrari is right there willing to strike. Wow, what incredible racing we have going down to the final 7 minutes in all of our categories here in the Rolex 24. Jan Halen has got a substantial 12-second lead in GTD. He'll just want to be maintaining that over Andy Lally to take the race win. But this GTD Pro battle is everything but stable, as once again, Vantor almost had a run. He's had so many opportunities that have been taken away from him. He's just got to close up on this Pfaff Porsche again and make a run. See if he can get through the infield through a couple of braking zone opportunities with the international and secondary horseshoe. Second horseshoe. Is it the Western Horseshoe? Who knows? We'll turn away briefly to that Meyershank Cadillac, and 3 seconds is now the gap Helio Castroneves has built up on Ricky Taylor. This is looking very good for the Meyershank Racing team. It would be an incredible story if 10 years later they are finally able to take the win in their Acura DPI after their struggles last year. What a heartwarming story that would be, but let's not get too caught up because Castroneves still has to get that car to the finish. Loic Duval in third, a little bit wide there. Unfortunately, JDC Miller Motorsports, I don't think will be able to take this win. It all looks like Castroneves has it set as long as he can keep that car safe to the end of the race. Meanwhile, the battle is back on in GTD Pro between Jaminet and Vantor, the 2 Porsches. of Matthew Jaminet in the Pfaff Porsche, Lawrence Vantor in the KCMG, red black plaid versus blue and white. Factory effort versus privateer with many factory drivers. These guys both have experience as factory pilots in Porsches, and especially this 911 GT3R. Vantor is going to get a run as they go through the tri-oval. He's right on the outside. He's going to go for the deep dive bomb around the 9. He's not even quite alongside. He's going to cut back to the inside, see if he can get a good grip. And they're side by side as they go through the S's. The 2 is the best chance to get it. The 9 is off track a little bit. They're fighting. They're touching. They're turning each other into the International Horseshoe. It's still side by side. Are they going to wreck each other off the King? They've touched 3 to 4 times now. They have to be careful not to get a flat spot. The 9 is going to have to give, and the 2 is in the lead of the GTD Pro category. KCMG takes the lead, but not so fast. That Pfaff Porsche is going to be coming back. Lawrence Vantor fought his way tooth and nail, just moving the number 9 out of the way. That is some of the most incredible battling I have seen in the GTD Pro category this race. In fact, it may be some of the greatest battling I've seen in IMSA. That is incredible. Vantor is finally through. Is there any damage on either of those cars? And is the Pfaff Porsche still in with the shot of gaining that lap back? Gaining that position back. We'll take a look at the replay. They went side by side through the S's, and then just barely into the grass goes Jaminet. Jaminet makes contact with the right rear wheel of the 2 KCMG Porsche, gets to his inside, almost a little bit of a NASCAR move, getting to the rear corner panel. Then they touch 2 to 3 more times on the way down to the kink. The 9 finally of Jaminet has to let go. He has to turn. He has to break in. And the 2 of Lawrence Vantor, the KCMG Porsche, is finally, after over an hour of battling, man, he was so sideways getting in, is finally able to take the lead in GTD Pro. What an incredible moment of racing there to be seen. And of course, it's not over. Jaminet is going to try back around the outside of the International Horseshoe. If he cuts in here, he's going to be with a decent shot into the second horseshoe. This battle is going to go right to the very end of this race. Jaminet not able to do anything through the kink. We'll see if he gets any improvement into the second horseshoe in the braking zone. Doesn't seem quite able to, with only just 2 minutes left in this race. The 9, of course, will have the draft when they get up to speeds on the banking, but can that 2 KCMG Porsche pull away, or will there be a move or lunge into the bus stop? There's only 2 minutes. Now's the time. If you're going to make a lunge for everything it is worth, now is the time. Down the back straightaway, I think that 9 Porsche is going to just have to settle in here and hope for a move down into turn 1. Jaminet has been defending this whole time. Now he has to attack. Still, the KCMG maintains the lead in GTD Pro. But closer, closer, closer gets that plaid red and black Pfaff Porsche. He's almost up to the bumper of the KCMG. Is he going to go left or right? They're in the middle of the track. Does he choose to go down? No, the KCMG leaves no room on the apron. Is he going to go inside or outside? He's going to go out, then in. He can't decide, and he can't get anything done. Jaminet runs out of decisions to make for the left and right, and he has to just stay behind the KCMG Porsche. This is the white flag lap. If they get lapped here by the Acura DPI, which is going through turn 1, they're side by side. Jaminet is on the inside. He's in the lead. Jaminet has taken the lead back from the 2 KCMG Porsche. The plaid Pfaff Porsche is in the lead again. You can be sure the KCMG is going to break very deep. Once again, I may mention, oh, he's right into the back of him. They touch once again. The KCMG is on his wheel. They're going to be side by side into turn 6. This is as close as the racing ever gets. This is as close as IMSA racing you will ever see. The 9 is able to maintain the lead onto the banking. what I was saying before I was rudely interrupted is that 60, if Castroneves laps these two, this is the final lap for them. If not, they still have one more lap of racing. But I must briefly mention that Castroneves does have a substantial lead. They are likely to win this, but KCMG, are they going to try anything down the bus stop? They are. They're going to go side by side. They're both off the race. They're both off the track. The KCMG has spun. The KCMG has spun. And Chabonet is going to go on to win this thing. He is going to get lapped by Castroneves. He tried into the braking zone and he spun. Castroneves into 60, Acura DPI rounds the final corner. He sees it. He sees the checkered flag. Meyer-Shank Racing is going to go on to win the 24 Hours of Daytona in the DPI category. And there is the FAF Porsche leading in GTD Pro. What a race! What an incredible finish in both these categories. In LMP2, it's going to be, okay, in GTD, we've seen Jan Halen come home for Wright Motorsports and take the win. Finally, in LMP2, an 8-second gap will be enough for Colton Herta to just make it to the end in that number 81 star-studded Dragon Speed lineup. What a race we've seen with them. A good battle towards the end, and Dragon Speed is in for a win. The team of Pato O'Ward, Colton Herta, and all of them takes the win in LMP2. What a race for an incredible team. Well done to Dragon Speed. Finally, the last one that has to come home is the LMP3 number 74 of Felipe Fraga. That is the Riley Motorsports. They won it last year. They'll win it again this year. It's 2 in a row for the LMP3 Riley Motorsports team. Well done to them, and congratulations, an incredible race from them. I don't think it is possible to fit more drama into the last 2 laps of an endurance race. That was one to remember in all categories for both teams, for all classes. I don't think there's anything else I can say about that. That was just unbelievable. Michael Shank being interviewed. Finally back to victory lane and a win for the Meyer-Shank Racing team. It's been 10 years. So well deserved from them after a difficult year last year. And Elio Castroneves, I'm sure, will be just elated when he gets back to the garage. But that GTD Pro finish was everything I think we could have ever wanted from GTD Pro. That was just 2 incredible drivers going just neck and neck, and I believe that the 60 here is going to take the checkered flag. Of course, this race is now over. We're going to be turning down that volume. And the Meyer-Shank team rushes out to greet Elio Castroneves, pat his car, pat his head, pat his helmet, and give him a big bear hug. Congratulations to Meyer-Shank. There they go. They're going to climb the fence. Of course they are. I think they're just figuring out now how on earth to climb the Daytona fence. Well done to Meyer-Shank Racing and Elio Castroneves. Tom Blomqvist for putting in those incredible stints earlier on. And what an end to the 24 Hours of Daytona in 2022. This will be one to remember for a long, long time. The final race of traditional DPI. The end of an era in Daytona racing. And in GTD Pro, the beginning of what is sure to be an unbelievable and incredibly close season in that category. Congratulations to everyone who has won. Congratulations to everyone who finished. And thank you all for tuning in. This has been an incredibly fun stream. I honestly couldn't believe my eyes for much of this race and what I was seeing. And wow, just what a race. What a race. The Daytona 24, it never disappoints. It never is a letdown in beginning the racing season for each year, the endurance racing calendar. And of course, this is only the beginning. We'll be back. The 12 hours of Sebring coming up in the middle of March. That will be incredible if only the 24 hours is something to show for it. We've got a really, really strong IMSA season on our hands. There's a replay. The KCMG Porsche. Vanthor tried absolutely everything he could and ended up third. He put it down the inside of the bus stop. I mean, that was a last gasp move. That was what he had to do. That was the end of the race there as Castro Neves was coming by to take the win. And we said it in the very beginning of the broadcast, and we'll say it in the end. Lap traffic made the difference. If Castro Neves hadn't been there to lap them, they would have gone another lap. KCMG wouldn't have taken as big of a risk, and Vanthor may have gone on to win this thing. So, that is all from Daytona. Once again, your winners in the race. We will put them up here in the standings. That is Meyershank Racing. Here, we'll make this much bigger. Your class winners in DPI, the number 60, Meyershank Racing, climbing the fence, Elio Castro Neves. They finally win in DPI. LMP2 was won by the, I should correct, the number 81, Dragon Speed USA team. The team with Pato O'Ward, Colton Herta, De Francesco, and Lux in there as well. Let me see. Let me read that driver lineup if I can find them. There they are, the 81. I should be able to find them. They're colored like a highlighter. Devlin, De Francesco, Pato O'Ward, Colton Herta, and Eric Lux win in LMP2. LMP3 won by Riley Motorsports, 74 Ligier. An incredible dominant race from them. The Pfaff Motorsports Porsche 911 GT3R just barely gets the win in GTD Pro, and in GTD it is the number 16 Wright Motorsports with an incredible race to win. Congratulations to the winners. I am off to go do homework. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Thanks for watching. If you get the chance, please subscribe to my main channel, Motors to Coasters. I'll be talking more about racing and doing many more racing related things in the future. So that is it. Stay positive and live on. What an incredible 24. We'll see you in Sebring.